The airplane hummed through the afternoon sky, 35,000 feet above the patchwork fields of Kansas. In seat 3A, James Marshall sat perfectly still, his dark suit pressed, his tie straight, his hands folded on the leather briefcase in his lap. To anyone watching, he looked exactly like what he was. A successful man. A powerful man. The chief executive officer of a company worth $3 billion. But James was not looking at his phone. He was not reviewing documents or answering emails. He was staring at nothing at all, his eyes fixed on the seat back in front of him, seeing something far beyond the blue fabric and plastic tray table. The flight attendant had offered him champagne. He had said no thank you. She had offered him warm nuts. He had said no thank you. She had smiled and moved on, accustomed to the cold efficiency of first-class passengers who treated her like a ghost. In seat 3B, beside him, a little girl with brown braids sat drawing on a pad of paper. She was maybe 7 years old, wearing a purple sweater with a cartoon cat on it. She had been drawing for 20 minutes, her tongue poking out slightly as she concentrated. Her mother sat across the aisle, reading a magazine, occasionally glancing over to check on her daughter. The girl looked up from her drawing. She studied James for a long moment, her head tilted to one side like a curious bird. Then she spoke, her voice clear and direct. "Why are you so sad?" James blinked. He turned to look at her, this small person with marker-stained fingers and gaps in her smile where teeth used to be. For a moment, he considered the automatic responses. "I'm not sad. I'm fine. Please leave me alone." But something in her face stopped him. There was no judgment there. No pity. Just simple, honest curiosity. And then, to his own surprise, James Marshall laughed. It started as a single bark of sound, sharp and unexpected. Then it grew, spilling out of him in waves, his shoulders shaking with it. People in nearby seats turned to look. The girl watched him, patient and calm, waiting for the laughter to finish its work. When it finally faded, James found that his eyes were wet. He reached up to wipe them, and his hand came away with tears. He stared at his fingers, confused, as if someone else's sadness had leaked onto his face. "I don't know," he said finally, his voice rough. "I guess I didn't realize I was." The girl nodded, as if this made perfect sense. "My grandpa was like that," she said. "He didn't know he was sad either, until our dog licked his face and he started crying. Then he said he felt better." "Did he?" James asked. "Yep. He said sometimes sad gets stuck inside and you have to let it out, like when you have a splinter." James looked down at his hands, at the wedding ring he still wore even though Elizabeth had been gone for 8 months now. Heart attack. Sudden. She had been making coffee one morning, and then she was on the kitchen floor, and then she was gone. Just like that. 42 years of marriage, over in the time it took for an ambulance to arrive too late. The company had given him 3 days. He had taken 2. Everyone had said how strong he was. How professional. How admirable. No one had asked why he was so sad. "What are you drawing?" James heard himself ask. The girl held up her paper. It showed a house with a smoking chimney, a yellow sun, and 3 stick figures holding hands. "That's me and my mom and my dad," she said. "We're going home. We went to see my grandpa because he was sad, remember? But now he has a new dog, so he's better." "That's a good drawing," James said, and meant it. "You can make one too, if you want." She pulled out a fresh sheet of paper and offered him a green marker. "Drawing helps when you're sad. My mom says so." James stared at the marker. When was the last time he had drawn anything? When was the last time he had done anything that wasn't about the company, about deals and projections and quarterly earnings? He took the marker. His hand felt clumsy, unpracticed. He drew a simple house, like hers. Then he drew two stick figures standing in front of it. One tall, one shorter. He colored them in carefully, slowly. The green marker squeaked against the paper. Who are they? The girl asked. That's me and my wife, James said quietly. Elizabeth. That was her name. Where is she now? She died earlier this year. The girl considered this. That's really sad, she said, with the straightforward honesty only children possess. I would cry every day. I haven't cried at all, James admitted. Not once. Not even at the funeral. That's the stuck kind of sad, the girl said wisely. The splinter kind. James looked at his drawing. At the two stick figures standing side by side. And then, there in seat 3A, somewhere over Kansas, he began to cry. Really cry. Not the brief tears from his laughter, but deep, shuddering sobs that came from a place he had locked away for 8 months. He cried for Elizabeth. For the coffee she would never make. For the garden she would never tend. For the grandchildren they had planned to travel with. For everything that was gone and would never come back. The girl didn't look away. She didn't tell him to stop or call for her mother. She just sat there, patient and present, occasionally patting his arm with her small hand. When the tears finally slowed, James felt hollow and exhausted. But also lighter. As if something heavy had been lifted from his chest. Thank you, he said, his voice hoarse. You're welcome, the girl said. She handed him a tissue from her backpack, the kind with cartoon flowers on the package. Do you feel better? James thought about it. He looked at his drawing again. At Elizabeth's stick figure standing beside his. Yes, he said. And it was true. I think I do. The girl smiled, satisfied. She returned to her own drawing, adding a dog to the yard beside the house. The plane hummed on through the afternoon sky, carrying its passengers toward whatever destinations awaited them. James carefully folded his drawing and put it in his briefcase. Tomorrow, he would call his daughter, whom he had barely spoken to since the funeral. He would tell her about her mother, about how much he missed her, about the sad that had been stuck inside him like a splinter. But for now, he sat beside a little girl with braids and a purple sweater, and watched the clouds drift past the window, and felt the simple relief of being human again. Of being sad. And of finally letting it show. Word count. 1298.